Let's build a PC. Hey everyone, and welcome to Power Creep. So recently one of my friends came to me and asked me and begged me and was, please help me build me a PC, please. No. I was joking, of course, but I was actually really excited to build this PC. Number one, because I love building PCs, and number two, I actually haven't done a PC build video in this channel since our actual first video. So I actually want to do a more updated video showing, some newer parts that have come out, but also just showing my process of what I do when I'm building a PC, and also what parts I get, and all that sort of stuff. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a PC building expert. I don't know the best way to build a PC or the most optimal way to build a PC. I'm not a Linus Tech Tips. Wait, I don't think that's a good reference anymore. Might be a little dated. Oh, I'm not a Steve from Gamers Nexus. No, nothing like that. I'm just a normal dude here, just giving you his opinion on how to build a PC, but also I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks that I've learned throughout the years as well, and just show you guys that, that you also can build a PC, because I had no experience building a PC whatsoever, and, now I've helped a lot of my friends, family members also build their PCs. So if I'm able to do it, you sure as hell can too. So to start off, let's talk about the parts that were bought for this computer build. For the CPU, we have an Intel Core i5-12600K CPU. For the GPU, we got the GIGABYTE GeForce RTX 3060 Ti with 8 GB of GDDR6 and 3 fans. Motherboard, ROG Strix B660, a gaming Wi-Fi D4 full ATX motherboard. For the CPU cooler, we have a CoolerMaster Liquid ML 240 liter V2 RGB radiator. We also have some RGB extension cables for the PSU. Then we got 6 CoolerMaster SickleFlow 120 ARGB case fans, 4 16 GB CORSAIR Vengeance RGB Pro SLDR4 RAM at 360 MHz speed, a 2 TB Samsung 980 Pro PCIe 4.0 NVMe M.2 SSD, and of course, the thing that powers this whole beast, the beefy 850 MBG AB50G PCIe 5 PSU. And this is also rated at an 80+ gold. Alright, so first thing we're going to do here is remove the motherboard from its plastic cover, and we're going to put it gently on top of the box and the cover, so no parts at the bottom of the motherboard will be damaged, just because all these parts are very sensitive. And since this is an Intel motherboard, you'll see that plastic cover on the top there, and we'll have to remove that. AMD motherboards will not have that, so this is just for the Intel motherboards. But the first thing we're going to install is the Intel CPU. As I said before, this is an Intel Core i5-12600K. So the best way for you to tell where to place the CPU correctly is that there's going to be a little arrow indicator on the CPU itself and also on the motherboard, and so you just want to line that up perfectly. So you can just set it in there, and just remember these pins are very sensitive, so don't try to do anything crazy with it. And I like to wiggle it a bit there so I can make sure that it's all set correctly. After that, I'm going to push down the pin, secure it safely, and then that plastic cover should have come off after you did that. Next up, we're going to install the RAM. As you can see here, this is a bit overkill with the RAM. We got 64 GB of RAM, when in reality, I don't think you even really need that much. But for this computer build specifically, we're going to be installing 64 GB. On the motherboard itself, it should give you an indicator where you should put your dual stick memory RAM. Right here, it tells me to insert it in the A2 slot and the B2 slot, but since we have 4 sticks of RAM, we'll be able to just place all 4 of them in there correctly. Now I'm going to install my storage. As you can see here, this motherboard has 2 places to install the M.2 drive, but at the bottom, that's just for extra storage. So I'm not going to install it there, because at the top of your motherboard here is where the main storage will go. And since this is where my operating system is going to be placed, I'm going to put it right here at the top. And I've made this mistake a lot before too, and you honestly have to read your motherboard manual to see where the correct place is to place your M.2 NVMe drive, because I've seen issues where if you put it in the wrong slot, the motherboard won't read it correctly. Sometimes it'll be locked and you'll have to go into the BIOS to unlock it. So definitely make sure to read your manual just to make sure that you're placing your M.2 drive that you're going to store your operating system on. Just make sure that you're placing it in the right place. All right, now we're going to install the CPU cooler. Man, this is actually my first time installing one of these to a PC build. In my current machine, I just have a normal CPU cooler, a stock one that came with the AMD CPU that I have. But for this one, we're going to be installing this one here. I heard a lot of good things about this exact CoolerMaster CPU cooler, which is pretty cool. But I've never personally built one before, so we're gonna be building one here for the first time. A lot of parts, as you can see, and it can be pretty confusing, but this has a lot of parts because it has parts for AMD and Intel motherboards. So you pretty much have everything here that you need for whichever computer build you're trying to build. First thing I'm doing here is just installing the brackets that I need to lock the CPU cooler onto the motherboard. Now, as you can see, I'm setting down the bracket for the motherboard. This will be going on the bottom of the motherboard. It fits perfectly, as you can see right here. And then I'm installing the hooks here so I can place the brackets on those hooks later. Now we get the case, and now I'm prepping it, getting it ready so I can put the motherboard inside next. Now I should say this, and this is something that's very important, is to make sure that the case that you buy will fit the motherboard that you got. I've made this mistake plenty of times. I've seen others make this mistake as well, and I feel like this is probably one of the biggest mistakes that people make, especially first-time PC builders. Like I said, I made that mistake when I first built my PC, and then even other times before too, I've made that mistake. So it's very easy to overlook this part, but make sure that the case that you get is a full ATX case so it can fit a full ATX motherboard. Now, a lot of times, you know, you might get some cases that you will be able to fit a full ATX motherboard in, but then, you know, you might see that like it might be really tight on space, so you might not get good airflow in it. So just make sure to look at that when you're buying your case and also when you're buying your motherboard. So here with this case, I have a Lian Li case. This is actually a popular case. I've been seeing this a lot on TikTok and a lot of people recommending this. This is actually my first time building in this case as well. A lot of first times with this PC build, but it's really cool. I like how modular it is. I kind of like and hate that. I hate all the screws that are everywhere after you tear down a lot of this, and it can get kind of messy and also kind of confusing when putting everything back together. But thankfully I was able to put everything back together once everything is said and done. But very good case. I do like the RGB options in the case as well. So if you are thinking about buying one, I do actually recommend this case. It's pretty good. So now I'm going to install the radiator here on the case first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 fans here in the back and then 2 in the front, because we have a lot of fans, and this would actually not only do very well with cooling, it would also look very well so that radiator isn't showing there and it's just the fans. So we have some cool RGB options. Now, after installing that, we get to finally install our motherboard. Now I'm screwing down the motherboard on the case. We're going to make sure that this motherboard stays on the case and it doesn't move anywhere. Now, after I do that, I'm going to apply the perfect amount of thermal paste. Now, this is the perfect amount for me. I know a lot of people have a different method of doing this, but I like to put at least like a little dab on the CPU, and then I'll just get like a little spreader that I have. It usually comes with the CPU paste, that there's just a little spreader that you're able to spread the CPU paste around. But I like to just spread it around just in case when putting on the CPU cooler doesn't spread around evenly. So I like to do this right here just to move it around a bit. After you do that, I'm going to finally put the CPU cooler on top of the CPU. And then with those hooks that I put in there earlier, I'm going to screw in some screws to just lock it into place. And then after that, I'm just going to manage the cables here for the CPU fan and the ARGB. And now I'm going to install all of my case fans. So the way I have it set up is that the 3 fans at the bottom are actually going to push fresh air into the PC, and then the single fan on the left hand side, the 3 fans at the top, and the 4 fans on the radiator will be getting rid of the hot air that is inside of this computer. So we should have good cooling in this computer with all these fans getting rid of all that hot air, but also fans bringing in the nice fresh air. We also have fans on the GPU, fans on the PSU. We have a bunch of fans in this machine, so we should be able to definitely have some good cooling. And then you can see here, after a time skip, I went ahead and installed all the fans, installed my RGB PSU extender. I also went ahead and installed all of the other individual cables for the USB, the HD audio. I also installed the PSU as well, and all this stuff I did off camera, so you can see here at the end how it looks like. And after I get everything hooked up, before I plug in the GPU, I turn on the machine just to make sure everything is plugged in and working. And then once I see that everything is working, then I go ahead and plug in my GPU. And the main reason I do that is just in case there's something that doesn't turn on, I'll know it's not the GPU's fault. And so I can kind of just go one step at a time to see if I forgot to plug something in, if there's something missing that it's not allowing it to turn on, you know, those sort of things. So then the main thing won't be the GPU. So after I see everything lights up, I go ahead and get the GPU out. It's a nice white GPU. And if you haven't put 2 and 2 together already, we are going for an all white build here. We have pretty much almost everything white, so it's gonna look nice and clean here at the end of the day. Now I'm getting ready to put my GPU in. Just don't forget to remove the plastic part there on the GPU before you try to insert it. And then once you push it down on the GPU there in the PCIe slot, you just make sure to push it down, and then you'll hear a click, and then that's how you know your GPU is inserted there. And then this GPU here, the 3060 Ti, is actually a 14-pin connector. And then after I have that connected, I just screw it in, make sure that it's in there tightly, and then I am all good to go. All right, now that we have everything plugged in here, let's go ahead and turn it on, and let's see if it works. And right here, as you can see, everything is plugged in, working. RGB on the case is working as well. This looks so good, and I'm really proud of this PC build. I think my friend is going to love this PC when he gets his hands on it. Now let's do the final test. Let's make sure that this PC posts. And I swear, this is probably the moment that gets my heart racing the most, because sometimes it just doesn't come on for a bit. It takes a while, and then boom, it shows the BIOS screen, and I'm just the happiest camper because everything's working. I don't have to open up the jumbled cable mess that's in the back. I don't have to do anything. It's working now, and that's all that matters. So now I get to turn on the XMP profile, make sure that my RAM is set to its correct megahertz speed. So you got to make sure that you do that as well, or else it's going to stay at a lower speed than what it's supposed to, and it can cause issues to your computer. So for this one, I had to make sure to set it to 3600 megahertz. And so that's the very first thing that I'm doing here. And then finally, now I'm just installing Windows here. I'm installing Windows 10 Pro. Just because I had a spare installer here, we will need to get a Windows key. And then once we get the Windows key, we'll be able to install Windows 11. But for now, I'm going to be installing Windows 10 Pro here on this computer. Now, after Windows is successfully installed, now it's time to update everything. Luckily, here on my USB, I have various different launchers that I like to install on PCs, especially these gaming PCs. So I just install like Steam, I install Epic Games, a few other things. But while all these updates are running, I went ahead and download Overwatch. I like to test Overwatch in these machines because it gets everything nice and toasty, but it's also a very good high FPS shooter. And here I'm in game and I see everything that's working well. I'm playing off Wi-Fi. I also played off Ethernet, and everything is working perfectly fine. Now, I'm playing on a terrible keyboard and mouse, so don't judge my gaming skills here. But everything is working. I did not experience any crashes as well while I was playing, so I know that I have no issues here with my CPU, any issues with my GPU. Everything here was working just fine. So this passed my test, and I know it'll pass my friend's test as well. So everything is working. Another successful PC build under the belt. That'll be it for us today. Thank you so much for coming over to the channel and checking out this new PC build. It's been quite a while, like I said, since we've done a PC build, and I actually would love to do more of these type of PC builds. One, going more in depth in everything that I do, but also just trying different variations of PC parts that I would like to test out to see how well they run, trying different games on the systems as well. And if you would like to see newer games running on my current system that has a 3080 Ti in it, then definitely check out some of our older PC gameplay videos so you can see how well they run on our 3080 Ti. And also just make sure to subscribe so you can see more videos like this. But until then, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a good one. And I'm trying to fucking put this motherboard in the case and my cat is biting my feet. I hate it here.